Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. There's been some fights reported for UFC 270, which will take place January 22nd, 2022. And this fight card rivals any of these end of the year fight cards. And UFC 268 looks like the greatest fight card on paper I've ever seen. And UFC 270, just with a few fights announced so far, might be better than it. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first off, these next couple pay-per-view cards are just insanely good. Even UFC 267, which I think most people would argue that it's the weakest of the four pay-per-view fight cards that are announced right now, is a great fight card. I mean, the main event is Jan Blachowicz defending his light heavyweight title against Glover Teixeira. I love this matchup. Glover Teixeira is the definite number one contender. He should be fighting for the title. Both are older guys. Jan Blachowicz has had this amazing career resurgence to destroy Dominic Reyes in the fashion he did, then to beat Israel Adesanya, who came up. People think he's the greatest middleweight of all time already. People were picking Adesanya to destroy and pick apart Jan Blachowicz. Not me, I picked Jan Blachowicz. But to send Israel Adesanya back to his division, stop him from being the double champ. Now he's defending against Glover Teixeira. I can't wait for this fight. Co-main event is Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. Originally, it was supposed to be the Yan versus Sterling rematch. Sterling pulled out, had an injury. So we're getting Sandhagen stepping in, and Sandhagen arguably deserved this shot. I thought he beat TJ Dillashaw. I thought he got, kind of screwed with the decision. And Yan versus Sandhagen could arguably be for the real belt. I mean, if you look at it, Yan, in my opinion, Yan was going to beat Aljamain Sterling. I know he deserved to lose the title just because you should know the rules. You shouldn't be throwing illegal knees. And Sandhagen beat Dillashaw, and so Sandhagen should be the number one contender. I love this fight. Other than the storyline of the Yan versus Sterling, I'm more excited for Yan versus Sandhagen than I was for Yan versus Sterling. I think it's a very exciting stylistic matchup. I absolutely love it. You have Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura, an excellent heavyweight fight. You have Li Jingliang versus Hamzat Chimaev. Great fight. We finally get to see Chimaev back in action. He was supposed to fight Leon Edwards 3 separate times. It got canceled. Now he's finally going to return, and I am super excited to see him fight a ranked guy in the welterweight division. It's not the step up that Leon Edwards would have been, but it's a very good fight. And if he beats Li Jingliang, the hype will probably reignite for him. He's been out for a while. Hopefully he stays active. Maybe he gets another fight rather quickly if he can win and come out unscathed. And I can't wait to see where Hamzat Chimaev goes in the welterweight division. Then you look down the card, Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Ozdemir. That fight should be incredible. Ankalaev is looking like he may be the future of the light heavyweight division as well. Lump him in there with Rakic and Yuri Prohaska. He looks incredible. And if he can get a big win over Ozdemir, that puts him right in that discussion with that top, 5, top 8 guys in the light heavyweight division. You look at UFC 268, which is only a week after UFC 267. It's an incredible fight card. The best fight card on paper I think we've ever seen from the UFC. Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2. I am so excited for this fight. Colby Covington only went out and won one fight after their original fight, but that first fight between Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington was amazing. Stylistic-wise, it's a lot of fun because both guys have unlimited stamina. Both guys have excellent wrestling, excellent clinch work, excellent grappling, but it kind of cancels each other out. So most likely, I think we see a majority striking matchup like we did the first time, and it was one of the best fights that I've seen. So I can't wait to see this rematch ran back. And then you also have the storyline, how Colby Covington acts, and the UFC will really build that up and make that fight card, important to a lot of people. Then the co-main event, which I could arguably say I'm more excited for the co-main or even the featured fight on the card. Rose Namajunas versus Weili Zhang 2. Rose comes in an underdog and just brutally head kicks Weili Zhang, sleeps her, and takes the title off of her. And now we're getting a rematch. A lot of people didn't expect it. But, Weili, she was KO'd so early in the fight. We didn't get to see the fight play out. So, I know Rose did a great job, but I'm very excited to see the rematch. This was my favorite fight coming into 2021. That's the fight that I wanted to see, the first fight. So I'm equally excited for the second fight. But if Weili Zhang loses again, she's in no man's land, having 2 losses to the champion. So there's a lot on the line for that fight. Then the featured fight on the card. This may be my favorite fight on 268. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. Is there any way that fight is boring? That fight should be absolutely incredible. And it has high stakes in the lightweight division. Either guy could earn a title shot with a win over the other. And both guys are just nothing but exciting fights. So I can't wait for this matchup. I expect Justin Gaethje to come out and try to take Michael Chandler's head off. And I expect the same from Michael Chandler. Justin Gaethje hasn't fought since he lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov last October. So he's going to be having over a year layoff. Michael Chandler's coming off that a vacant lightweight title fight against Charles Oliveira, where he almost won the title in the first round. Then he gets stopped in the second round. Incredible fight, one of my favorite fights of this year, and I can't wait to see both guys try to bounce back. It's just crazy. Both of them are coming off lightweight title fights. Then you even look down the card even further. Sean Strickland versus Luke Rockhold, former middleweight champion Luke Rockhold returning. Sean Strickland trying to prove he belongs in that top 10 of the middleweight division. Super excited for that fight. And if Luke Rockhold wins, just because of his name value and the fact that he's a former champion, he could be right in that middleweight title picture for sure with a win over Sean Strickland alone, just because of his name and the fact that he's a former middleweight champion. I'm really looking forward to that fight in the matchup, seeing if Luke Rockhold still has it or Sean Strickland is going to beat him. Plus, Sean Strickland's just a weird dude, so the build-up for that fight should be incredible. Then you have Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vera. Great fight. Frankie Edgar's been around forever. He's had some success at 135, but again, had some losses. And it's Marlon Vera's chance to prove he belongs in that top 10 of the bantamweight division, which I believe is the best division in the UFC. Edmund Shabazian versus Imanov should be a great fight. That's on the prelims, as well as Ala Quinta versus Bobby Green. All great fights. Then you have UFC 269. I'm going to get to UFC 270 in a minute. I just have to go through all these pay-per-view cards because they're incredible. And UFC 270, even with the limited number of fights that have been announced so far, it looks very, very good and could be the best of all four of them. So UFC 269 is December 11th. The main event is Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. I'm super excited for this fight. It's a 50-50 fight. I favor Charles Oliveira, but the stylistic matchup is incredible. Both guys are super well-rounded. Charles Oliveira is on a long winning streak, coming off that big win over Michael Chandler, winning the vacant lightweight belt after Khabib Nurmagomedov retired, and now it's his time to prove that he's the legitimate lightweight champion. I already believe he is just because Khabib's gone. There's nothing we can do about that. And Dustin Poirier is coming in off those 2 wins over Conor McGregor. Before that, he had the fight of the year against Dan Hooker. And Dustin Poirier is so well-rounded. He's so durable. I really don't know who's going to win this fight, and that's what makes me so excited. I favor Charles Oliveira, but not by much. I really could see either guy getting this win. And, I cannot wait for this main event. And there's 3 title fights on this card. You also have Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, which, I'm not all that hyped for, but, I like watching Amanda Nunes' greatness. Maybe she'll get another finish in the first round. Maybe she won't. Or it could be the time we finally see her dethroned. I doubt that. I think it'll be a bludgeoning, but it's another title fight. And then we also have Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo 3. I think this is a trilogy that really nobody expected this trilogy. And because of an injury to Pantoja, we're getting this trilogy. And Davison Figueiredo got dominated in the second fight. The first fight was a draw. Second fight, he got dominated. Maybe he has an excuse, and maybe he's not one of those guys that like to put it out there. So he campaigned for the fight, and now we get to see. Imagine if he regains the belt back from Brandon Moreno. We'll probably see a 4th fight, honestly. So I'm super excited for that. Pedro Munoz versus Dominic Cruz. Cannot wait for that bantamweight fight. I know Pedro Munoz is going to be chopping those legs of Dominic Cruz, and I'm curious if Dominic Cruz can, make a run in the bantamweight division. He's considered the greatest bantamweight of all time right now. But I don't know. Pedro Munoz is a tough matchup. Jaw of granite, nasty power in his hands, nasty leg kicks. But I can't wait for it. Now let's move on to UFC 270, and also you have Sean O'Malley versus Raulian Paiva on UFC 269 as well. Not super excited for that, but some people will be happy to see Sean O'Malley back in action. And if he wins that fight, we have to see him against a legit contender after that, which I'm most looking forward to. So finally, UFC 270, January 22nd of 2022. This fight, I cannot believe the top 2 fights that the UFC is trying to put together for UFC 270. It's going to be incredible. Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane for the unification of the heavyweight title. Francis Ngannou is the heavyweight champion. He knocked out Stipe Miocic brutally at UFC 260 March of this year. Ciryl Gane kind of got lucky. He got a shot against Derek Lewis when Ngannou was supposed to fight Lewis, but Ngannou needed more time. So they stuck Ciryl Gane in there, and he absolutely dominated Derek Lewis. And I'm very high on Ciryl Gane. I'm just saying he got lucky. I'm not saying he got lucky in a fight. He got lucky to get the shot that early. He becomes the interim heavyweight title holder, and now he's going to fight Francis Ngannou. And the stylistic matchup of this fight is incredible because Ciryl Gane's so technical. He has so many tools. He has such great striking. He has such high fight IQ. And, in some fights, like the Jairzinho Rosenstrike, he has no problem staying on the outside, fighting a relatively boring fight and trying to pick a guy apart and win a decision. And Francis Ngannou, we know how he fights. He comes out and throws nukes. I mean, anything that he lands just puts guys to sleep. The most incredible knockout power I've ever seen. I don't know who you would compare him to as far as knockout power. Derek Lewis is the only one that comes close. But oh my God, I can't wait. It's just going to be such a contrast in styles. Francis Ngannou just trying to run out and bulldoze him with crazy, wild striking, looking to find the chin, and Ciryl Gane trying to, use a good game plan and try to pick him apart from the outside, kick his legs, maybe even try to grapple him. And both guys are just big, fast, athletic heavyweights. Cannot wait for that fight. And that's supposedly the main event for UFC 270, but the co-main event, and I don't even know if the UFC is going to call it a co-main event. They'll probably call it a co-headliner because the supposed co-main event for UFC 270 is Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker 2. Robert Whittaker lost his belt to Israel Adesanya. I think it was 2019. And he's not one of those champions that lost his belt. He got KO'd by Adesanya and then cries saying he deserves a rematch, or just because of his title reign, he automatically deserves one. Robert Whittaker went out there and not beat one, not two, but three top contenders to earn himself a return to the middleweight title. And now he's going to fight Israel Adesanya. I can't wait for this. Robert Whittaker got great wins over Darren Till, Jarrett Cannonier, and then Kelvin Gastelum. You could arguably say he deserved a rematch after one of those wins, but he took three top contenders, beat them. Now he's going to fight Adesanya again. And after that first fight, I'm curious what changes Robert Whittaker can make to, win a fight against Adesanya, because after that first fight, Adesanya looked untouchable in it. So I'm curious, can Robert Whittaker mix in the grappling, use his fight IQ, chop the legs, oblique kicks to Israel Adesanya, and somehow win the fight? I think he has a decent chance. Just after seeing that first fight, it would be hard for me to pick him, but I cannot wait for that fight. Just those top two fights on UFC 270 easily could be headline of any pay-per-view, and the fact that we get them on the same night is going to be incredible. I hope it stays together. And then also you have Jarrett Cannonier versus Derek Brunson. I love when they have the middleweight title, or I love when they have a division title being defended, and then on that same card, you have a number one contender fight for that same division, regardless of what division it is. And that's what we have on this card. We have Adesanya versus Whittaker for the middleweight title, and then we have Derek Brunson versus Jarrett Cannonier for the number one contender spot in the middleweight division. Really looking forward to UFC 270. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoy these types of videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.